What's going on, guys? Reversing it back a brand new video, and today this is the first episode of a brand new series where we'll be doing some predictions for each of the teams ahead of the F1 2016 season. Yes, I know it's just under a year to go to the 2016 season, and I know we've only had one race of the 2015 season, but I do like to do predictions, and I think anyway they're better done early on in the year because, you know, when we get to later on in the year, most of the seats have already been taken. There's nothing that fun to predict, but at the moment basically none of the seats have been taken. There's these contracts kind of laid down, but they're kind of optional contracts that aren't quite clear if they're kind of true or not. You know, we're seeing with Charles speaking with Caterham, Luis Razio and Marussia, Guido van der Garde of course, with Sauber just you know, kind of recently. So yeah, so with Ferrari then, I can definitely say Sebastian Vettel is going to be there. I wouldn't see any reason, and you know, unless it was like injury or health issues, but you know, he wouldn't be there for Ferrari for 2016. You know, should be set for a really good 2015. Started off in the best possible way with a podium, and he'll be hoping that 2016 is a title contender. I'd really like a great battle between Ferrari, Mercedes, perhaps even McLaren for 2016. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. We're just talking about Ferrari for the now, and who's going to be driving for them. Yeah, so already putting in there slot 1 is definitely going to be Vettel. But let's talk about who's going to be partnering, because this is definitely, you know, a very open-ended question with lots of different possible answers. Let's start off with a few of the main contenders, and of course one of the main guys is definitely going to be Kimi Raikkonen. Now, he was quoted early on in the 2014 season saying 2015 will be his last year, but then kind of later on in the 2014 season you kind of got the vibe that he was saying he was going to staying on, or he could be staying on for another year into 2016. To support this argument, Ferrari don't usually like to sack their drivers. We've seen with Felipe Massa, they kept him probably well past his sell-by date, or certainly a sell-by date at Ferrari. He has now gone on to Williams, of course, to do better things. But, you know, Ferrari are kind of sometimes reluctant to sack people, just like a few of the top teams have. Ferrari always seem to kind of go with the experienced guy and kind of, you know, stick to the status quo, because, you know, they had Alonso for so long, they've had Kimi Raikkonen. Of course, you know, they kept him. You know, they could have really changed him. They could have probably got someone better suited for 2015. You know, Van, Kimi Raikkonen should probably come on to a few contenders later. So there's a very good case for Kimi Raikkonen being in that second seat for 2016. Personally, I don't see it. I do think he's going to retire at the end of this year, possibly announce it kind of midway through 2015, with you know, his final race being the 2015 Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Yeah, I probably can't see Kimi Raikkonen doing it just because of the fact he's retiring, but it's certainly a massive possibility. A possibility people aren't taking serious enough. He is one of the major contenders, and I don't think he's, you know, I think he's going to keep minded. I think a lot of this is just going to depend how the 2015 season goes, and that's why it's so hard to predict. But it also makes it a lot more fun to predict. And you know, Ferrari do tend to announce it kind of towards the back end of the year, but usually before the end of the year, which is kind of good. We can kind of gauge. Vettel was Japan, wasn't it? And yeah, obviously Alonso as well going to McLaren. But yeah, anyway. Like I said then, you know, Kimi Raikkonen, one of the main contenders. Another main contender is Valtteri Bottas, of course, the current Williams driver. This is his third year with Williams. It's been a really successful 2014 for him. 2013 was just a good building year. There's nothing really, you know, much he could do with that car. 2015 should be more of the same as, you know, kind of a copy of 2014, if you will. I would, you know, definitely suspect Bottas to be fighting for third place in the Drivers' Championship. I can almost guarantee he'll be third or fourth in the Drivers, as long as he gets on top of his, you know, back problems, which hopefully aren't going to hamper him, or, you know, hamper this decision. So I think once he gets on it, he'll build up a bit of momentum, and I think he'll really shine towards the end of the year, which is when Ferrari are going to be thinking about, you know, who's going to be filling out that Driver 2 role. And I think Bottas will be a great guy to do it. There's a really good relationship between Raikkonen and Vettel, and I think that will just be continued with Bottas and Vettel. You know, a Finn for a Finn, like for a like swap. Bottas, you know, is really on form at the moment. At the back end of 2014, he was really good, all the way through 2014. He's been really consistent as well, and that's something that Ferrari would do really well, I think, alongside Vettel. Vettel's always been really consistent. Even in 2014, looking at his results, they're just really consistent. As with all his championship winning years, you know, look at 2011, look at 2013, and you know, that'd be a really nice consistent lineup. But Ferrari could actually really push for the Constructors' Championship, because I believe if they did get an equal car to Mercedes have the stronger lineup. But if you bring Bottas in to replace Raikkonen, then Bottas and Vettel could really give Hamilton and Rosberg and Alonso and Button a really good run for the money. I think it would be a massively strong lineup, and you know, probably on their side of the view it's probably a risk, but from my side of the view it's not a risk at all. Signing Bottas, you know, one of the most talented young guys on the grid, it would be a fantastic move for Ferrari. And of course the question does remain, is Bottas want to go? He's of course at Williams at the moment, but I think if Ferrari have a better car, then surely he'd want to go. I mean, there's questions, will he go to Mercedes? Bottas, could play a key role in all of this. I mean, I suppose an outsider as well, just kind of talking about all this, is Daniel Ricciardo. I suppose normally people have mentioned him, of course currently at Red Bull. It all depends what happens with Red Bull, if they're still around in 2016, which I'm pretty sure they will be. If they're that competitive, maybe. If not, he'll make the switch to Ferrari. It's a big unknown, but I think Bottas and Raikkonen should be two of the main contenders. Look at their reserve and test drivers. Of course, Jonic Vernon and S.p.A. Gutierrez. Going to rule S.p.A. Gutierrez out, and that would be the biggest shock in all of F1 if Gutierrez got the seat, apart from probably Carl and Jordan getting it. But they would not be very good if Esteban Gutierrez got the Ferrari seat. I'm really hoping he's not. I doubt it. Also, like I mentioned, Jonic Vernon is a big possibility as well. Really impressing in Formula E at the moment. He's probably just going to be focusing on that for 2015. Doesn't look like he's got any other series planned. Maybe he's doing some endurance racing, perhaps. That seems to be the trend now. Of course, even Hulkenberg is. But yeah, Jonic Vernon, big contender. I think many people are putting him in. So for me, the big three are Vernon, Bottas, and Raikkonen. A few outsiders which still have a pretty decent chance is Nico Hulkenberg, Sergio Perez, Rafael Marcelo, there's Fusiko, the GP3 guy, Marcelo and Fusiko. If you don't know, Marcelo's in GP2, Fusiko's in GP3. Two very young guys, which will be a massive gamble for Ferrari, but it's paid off for a lot of other teams employing young drivers. But Marcelo's probably benefited to Sauber, I think it's 2016. I'll talk about that in another video. As with Fusiko, I think he could be in Sauber in kind of 2 years. I think he'd be a good 2 years in GP3, or 1 year in GP3, 1 year in GP2. What we've seen, Alex Lynn do. So I don't think it's going to be anyone that hasn't already, it's not going to be a rookie, I think, Ferrari going to put in. Like I said, they do tend to lean towards experience, not always, but just, they kind of tend to do. We saw that with Raikkonen, even when they, sort out after a placement, they signed Fisichella and Badoa, two of the more experienced guys on the grid. I suppose it's like these outside, really outside guys like Hamilton and Ricciardo, like I mentioned before, who've got a really slim chance, but you never know with Formula 1 how it's all going to change. But, why would Hamilton leave Mercedes? Of course, probably Ricciardo would. I don't know if he would leave Red Bull. I suppose it's kind of his team now, so he probably won't. Certainly not for 2016. But wouldn't that be interesting? A Ricciardo and Vettel lineup, a rematch of 2014. In Vettel's team once again. I'm really interested to see who would come out on top of that. But then that's pretty much it then, talking about Ferrari from 2016. Really excited to see who they're going to be going with. This should be a story we'll be hearing a lot more throughout the year. So this is kind of starting the the kind of news story starting off of my channel. I'll be covering it all the way through the year, probably doing some updated predictions, kind of how events turn and which drivers stand for which teams. But for me anyway, my prediction, I'm going to go with Bottas, to be honest. I think he's going to ditch Williams. I think because Nico Rosberg's probably going to stay with Mercedes, and of course Hamilton is as well. He's probably going to realise that the best move for him is a different direction to Ferrari, especially if Ferrari are going to have a really good car towards the end of 2015. Like I said, we've just got to basically wait for the rest of 2015 to play out to get a better picture. But that's my prediction at the moment. You guys can let me know, who do you think it's going to be? Will it be Nico Hulkenberg, Jonic Vernon, will Kimi Raikkonen stay, or will it be an outsider like Perez, Ricciardo, Maldonado, Gutierrez, Hamilton? I don't know, but just let me know down in the comment section below. And see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.